In episode 527, Jose and Ryan go over some Hellraiser and Nightbreed news and rumors of the new Clive Barker project, plus the first segment of the Clive Barker Portrait discussions with special guest Don Bertram. This is the Clive Barker Podcast, where longtime fans, Ryan and Jose, interview guests, bring you the news, and take deep dives into Barker-related stuff. This episode will be available in podcast, audio, and YouTube video. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive and advocate of his art, but Don's unique and inspiring paintings are for sale, and over 50% of the proceeds go to the Arts and Medicine program at the Texas Children's Cancer Center. There's even a paver in Washington, D.C. representing Celebrate Imagination. We're thrilled that this worthy cause is sponsoring our podcast again this year, and we hope that you'll consider looking over his Pinterest page and commissioning a painting of your own. For commissions, Don requires no money down, and there will be no obligation on your part. You can also head over to the Etsy shop to buy one of his books, like A Chimney Sweep's Tale, Celebrate Imagination, or The Imaginaries. Follow the link in the show notes, or click on the side banner, and let's see what's new with Don Bertram today. Here are the most recent paintings you can find on Don Bertram's Facebook page: Untitled Abstracts, The Messenger, and Falling Stars. Let's welcome our other sponsor, Ed Martinez, and his YouTube channel. Lots of great special effects videos and Barker-related content. What's the latest from Ed? We have a new sponsor. It's the Now Playing Podcast. Arnie, Stuart, Justin, Marjorie, and Brock host a long-running movie review podcast and have a comprehensive blog with book reviews. Check out this one on The Hellbound Heart. They've even written a book on underrated movies. They started in 2007, but the podcast really took off when they began doing movie retrospective series in 2009, like when they did Friday the 13th or all the Stephen King movies. They've even covered Clive Barker movies in some Patreon exclusive episodes. Please check out the Now Playing Podcast, and if you love it like we do, you might want to help out their donation drive. Here's their most recent stuff. Their more current episodes are about Alligator, The Bride, and Alligator 2. And I've personally been listening to their retrospective series on Star Wars and Godzilla and King Kong. Welcome to episode 527 of the Clive Barker Podcast, and this is a news episode. We've gathered up some news since it's been a while since we've done one of these. So welcome. Good morning, Jose, or I guess it's afternoon over there.
Yeah, it's noon. I got my blue light blocking gaming glasses on because I was on my computer. But yeah, some interesting stuff, right, that we're going to get into from the Reef.
Yeah, so first off, Hellraiser Revival made a developer diary for, I forget what news outlet it was for.
IGN,
there we go. Yeah, for IGN, thank you. It's about 6 minutes long, and you know, finally we get a little bit of news, behind the scenes kind of news about this game. So that was kind of nice to see. There's an interview with Doug Bradley in there where he's talking about, you know, what the difference was between the first time that he was working on a video game that didn't, you know, that failed, and then this time, and what he expected versus what it was like, and his overall impression of the game. I mean, it's short, but I thought it was really neat to see.
Yeah, we see him in the recording booth doing the voice work for the Hell Priest that he's going to play in the game. He says that it's good to not have to be put on in makeup to just do the voice. It's a complicated process, but you got some executive producers in there talking, and we see little bits and pieces of the game, and they all mention how interesting it's going to be to handle a big IP like Hellraiser and how explicit the game is going to be and all that stuff.
Yeah. So there's a link in the show notes to that. If you're watching this on YouTube, click on the link at the very bottom of the show notes, and that'll take you to the blog post, and then you can see all the links, because YouTube only allows naked links, which, you know, those things are enormous and they make our show notes look ugly. So we don't do it, because we're first and foremost a podcast.
What did you think about the clips that they show? They show some interesting mechanics. I think at one point you see Pinhead walking on a bridge that's kind of like assembling itself, and then everything else is rotating around him. It's almost like an Escher kind of space where there's stairs going up and down and whatever.
Yeah,
looks cool.
I mean, and it also showed some people rushing at your main character and the way he used the box as a weapon in different ways. And these people rushing at him, I couldn't tell if those were like messed up, mutilated people, or if those were like some kind of
Cultists.
Cenobites or hell denizens, right? I mean,
Yeah.
were they living people who just are really into body modification, or were they, and I guess that's kind of the point, and
Well,
it,
there's supposed to be some cultists too in the game, right?
yeah, right. So they could be cultists, but there were different degrees of how messed up they looked. So, it depends. Probably some of them were the damned and some of them were the cultists. And maybe it's kind of a fuzzy line in between.
Yeah, you see Butterball again. You see Chatter showing up there. You see like the
Yeah.
way they depict the tunnels of the labyrinth, very close to Hellraiser 2. There's even
Yeah.
a lady that's talking about how they were modeling the characters of Cenobites and how she was trying to figure out what was Doug Bradley's face and what was
Yeah.
makeup prosthetics, which I'm not sure why she needed to do that just to model the character, but we just want to know what date this thing is going to come out.
Yes. Yes, we do. Have you seen the female Cenobite on any of the footage or trailers? Or have we seen
Yeah,
her?
she
So I
she
wonder
shows up
because
in this video.
she's a speaking Cenobite too. I wonder if they got Barbie Wild to do her voice.
I don't think so. Otherwise, they would have brought that up. But yeah,
Yeah.
the female Cenobite, she shows up around the 2 minutes and 35-second mark. You
Okay.
can see her, a big close up of her speaking
Yeah.
to the camera. But this is when that other lady that's working in the game is talking about how they wanted to make sure that the facial details of the Cenobites were really
Yeah.
correct.
Well, I hope they approached Barbie for that, but I don't know. I mean, we don't even know when the game's coming out, so maybe they still could. It
Yeah, and that
seems,
Genesis configuration, right?
yeah. I mean, it seems to me that the voiceover stuff is something that could happen late in the production, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think they're probably already on doing crunch if this game is coming out this year.
Well, is it though? Nobody has said, but they had us pre-ordering it last year.
Yeah, I'm just going by what I get also from the people that are connected to the Hellraiser Revival Discord server.
Yeah,
They keep saying maybe Q3, quarter three or something, maybe around
yeah,
Halloween, I
that
think.
would be
So
Halloween. Yeah.
I think if they keep posting stuff about the game and pre ordering the game and it's not going to come out in 2026, people will be really pissed.
But I think movies come out around Halloween, right? Because you can watch a movie in one night. But a game, does it really matter if it comes out in Halloween? If it takes you like a couple of weeks or a month to beat it?
Oh, I mean, keep in mind, I'm just
Yeah.
speculating. When they say
Yeah.
quarter three, I think quarter three involves Halloween. So that's
Well, I do.
just,
I think that too. But then at the
uh
same time, I also wonder how important it is for a horror game to come out in October at all. I mean, maybe.
huh.
I don't
But well,
know.
I don't know. I mean, I just hope that
Yeah.
they bring it out in a few months. That would be terrific that they announce some sort of date. Because
Yeah.
for example, I've been waiting for I've been waiting for the Elder Scrolls 6 now for what, like 7 or 8 years since it was announced that they were gonna put it out, and they still haven't made it. So it's like it just I hate it when cool games are announced, but then it takes years for them to
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Clive Barker's Demonic to come out. That was announced 20 years ago.
It's always good to keep up hope, Ryan.
Yeah.
Uh, there's some comments on that video. Some people are pretty excited. This guy here says, nearly 40 years later, and we finally get a real Hellraiser game with Doug Bradley. Absolutely legendary. And
Yeah.
most of this is about Doug Bradley, the man, the myth, the legend, Doug
Yeah.
Bradley.
That's
And then, of
cool.
course, another comment that has a lot of thumbs up is, hey, a release date would be nice. So I agree.
Yeah. He says what everybody else is thinking.
They've been putting up promotional stuff like Bloody Disgusting put out like last week. I think it was on the 5th of March. They put out a little comment saying that the upcoming video game Hellraiser Revival is going to push the boundaries to the absolute extreme. And IGN was
Yeah.
reporting ESRB rating, the rating for computer games, right, is
Yeah.
mature. And that Saber Interactive told the outlet IGN that they weren't forced to remove any extreme material from the game.
Yeah.
So they keep talking about that. It's going to be very explicit. I just commented on it That's just a simple comment. I commented, I mean, it's not about how explicit it's going to be. It's about the story and how you use it. And
Yeah.
then some people were agreeing with me. Some people were like saying, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I thought it was
you
funny.
must not. I saw that you showed that to me. You must not have been around Clive Barker's material or whatever. And like,
Yeah, this
yeah,
guy said, I
that's
don't want to say
right.
his name,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
said, you clearly haven't been around Barker's work, have you? Hellraiser has always been about pushing boundaries of
yeah,
sex, gore, adult themes, and disturbing content. You can't
yeah,
do Barker without that. And then someone said, you might want to check Jose's resume. And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
thumbs up. Okay. I
yeah,
think it's looking good though. The game is looking good. I just don't like it when people just put it in your face like, look how explicit this is going to be, because it's like, okay,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what are you going to do with that
Yeah, right. Because that's not the whole point, right?
yeah.
And anybody that knows Clive Barker knows that yes, it can be extreme and shocking, right?
Mm.
But it's not like that are.
Terrifier.
Yeah, it's not like Terrifier, right? That's for the sake of being shocking, right? And that's not what Hellraiser is supposed to be. I think that's isn't
Sure.
that pretty much what kind of the point you were making?
Yeah, that was the point I
Yeah,
was making. And someone else also commented here. Yeah, I agree. I just hope we don't have another Agony situation, which was that game, computer game Agony, that
yeah,
was supposed to take place in hell and was going to have all these
yeah.
like naked succubi and stuff. And then the game ended up being kind of a flop. But
It was awful. I bought it and it was terrible. I played it
yeah.
for about 30 minutes and
Oh,
I just
no.
was wandering around the same area. There
Uh-huh.
was nothing challenging about it except that I was stuck and I couldn't figure out how to get out of there. And the background, like the hit, I mean, the background looks kind of cool, like Jericho, but the hit detection on it was all weird, and you can't get past things that looks like you should be able to climb up them or walk on them, and it just,
Yeah.
I don't know, it felt like a video game. It didn't wasn't very immersive. It was just annoying, and so I not only did I quit playing it, I deleted it.
Mm.
And
Uh,
and it gives Agony a bad name because there's an Amiga game called Agony where you're an owl and you're
oh,
shooting,
really?
enemies and stuff. Yeah, and that game is awesome, is amazing. It's by Psygnosis.
Oh, Psygnosis. I've heard of them. Yeah. Didn't they do like Gods or something like that?
Yeah, so here it is.
Oh, big box game. Awesome.
Yeah, sometime I'll have to show off all my big box Amiga games
Oh, you
that I've
should. That's
rebought.
really
I used
good.
to own these all in the 80s and 90s, and then I
Oh.
got rid of my Amiga, and now I'm buying them back again. Some of
Is it
them are
like a Roger Dean background all the time, like those crazy looking
most of
paintings?
them, yeah. So like
Oh,
here's
nice.
Shadow of the Beast.
Uh-huh. The one where you transform into like a monster.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, that's a great box.
Yeah.
And do you have that Nightbreed game handy over there?
I do. Well, I can't.
That's okay.
It's actually over there, so
All
it's
right.
just
I'm not going to
past the
make you get it.
desk. I'd have to walk over to get it, but yeah,
But
it's there.
Hellraiser Revival does look very interesting, and the graphics look pretty amazing. So I'm sure they're going to do a good job. I just want them to
Yeah.
give us an announcement for a release date soon. And
Yeah, and I think that's sensationalized, right? To just talk about how gory it is or how MA rated it is,
mm,
and that's clickbaity kind of stuff. We kind of expected that. So I think that moreover, I think you and I want to know how it fits into Hellraiser lore and what the story is kind of I think kind of what you were saying in your comment.
yeah, there's a few shots in that video that I noticed that they have like this room with some slides, and someone's looking at the slides, and there's like an old manuscript or something being projected on the slide, and there's like these
Oh,
crazy looking illustrations. I'm sure there's people out there who are going to screenshot all those things from this video material and probably discuss it in the Hellraiser Revival Discord server.
oh
So
yeah. Yeah, well,
that's
I'm sure one of them will be commenting or and breaking the whole thing down.
yeah, that's a good place to visit in the next few
Yeah.
days to see what they have to say about that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they can find stuff that might have escaped us. You know.
Yeah, and I really like them, and I just don't haven't had the time to share everything that they put out because it's a lot.
Mm,
They do a lot of stuff, and they they've been doing Hellraiser watch-alongs where they will like re-edit the movies to put deleted scenes back in, and I think they were doing Revelations right now, which I would not. I'm not going to watch that again, no matter what. I don't care what
that's doing the franchise a disservice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done.
By far, by leaps and bounds, the worst Hellraiser movie ever made.
Continuing this Hellraiser theme, Hellraiser Bloodline celebrated its 30th anniversary on the 8th of March. That was 4 days ago as we record this. The usual suspects have been posting stuff about it on their social media.
I think Pete alerted us to it, right? Pete Atkins, which was nice. Yeah, we've got a link to his post about it because he may have been the first one to post about it. I'm not sure, but
he actually shared his post from last year for the 29th birthday, and then he added a little bit and now it's 30.
Yeah.
He added also Jerry Lively to the rest in peace list with Mickey Cottrell and Daniel Licht, the composer of Hellraiser Bloodline, who passed away as well a short time ago. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media, a lot of weird, horror accounts posting about Hellraiser Bloodline. That movie definitely gets a lot more love every year than it probably ever had when it came out. I think it really is a cult classic.
Yeah, I remember I saw, and I've probably talked about this before, but I saw at a Clive Barker Q&A for Thief of Always. One of the people asked about Hellraiser 3, and it's probably been a bunch of years since I've talked about this. One of the people said, "Hey, what happened with Hellraiser 3?" Kind of implying that it was really bad. And Clive Barker said, "Well, first of all, you shouldn't make 3 of anything." He said, look at Star Wars. They just blew up the Death Star again. And he said, but they're trying something new with this new one. And so, I think it'll be interesting to see. So let's watch out for that or something like that. Kind of, talking, I think he was talking about the different timelines and stuff in Hellraiser Bloodline.
Well, happy anniversary to all the cast and crew.
Yeah.
And since it was Women in Horror Month, it's March. Peter Atkins on Instagram also gave a special shout out to Valentina Vargas for bringing his Princess Angelique to such memorable life, abetted by Gary Tunnicliffe's breathtaking makeup design. I'm reading it from Pete's post on Instagram. And then in the comments, Hollywood Assassin, who's actually Gary J. Tunnicliffe, posted something like, "Happy hellish birthday, my friend. Where did the time go? Seems like only yesterday." And then I went to his Instagram account for Gary J. Tunnicliffe, and he gave a more lengthy post, which if you want, I can read it right now. It says, "Happy 30th birthday, Hellraiser Bloodline. I was 27 years old, working with my heroes on my dream project, designing Cenobites and makeup effects. It was a project with many trials and tribulations, some known by many, others known by a few. A year of shoots and reshoots, and I was one of the only people, possibly the only person, there from early pre-production to first screening. What happens in 30 years? You lose friends and colleagues like the amazing DP and friend Jerry Lively, and actors like the wonderful Mickey Cottrell, who played Delil. Movie friendships you felt sure would last an eternity get damaged and destroyed. Doug Bradley, Kevin Yeager." So apparently he didn't have a good relationship with them after that movie. "Friendships that you thought were strong become diamond hard. Peter Atkins and Mike Regan from Mike Regan Effects. He played Chatterer after Nicholas Vince stopped playing Chatterer. And he was also a special effects artist. The young actors getting into their first breaks blossom into full-fledged stars. Adam Scott, who played Chuck, or become famous directors. Mark and Michael Polish, the Cenobite twins, and one makeup effects artist whose talent astounded me back then is still someone I cross paths with all these years." He tagged Tom Floutz, Floutz. He's a LA-based painter, sculptor, and apparently now also a director. And he goes on to say, "Not to mention the punky rascal who I've graced many a film set with, the excellent Brian Blair, and my crew. Most of them don't even live in LA anymore. And the girl I thought I'd be with forever and who ran my office like a superstar, married and living in Las Vegas, pursuing her own passions. And that was Claire Jane Varanian. He was with her for a while." And then he continues on to conclude, "It was a different time, or maybe I was just different. I'd see and talk to Clive all the time for Lord of Illusions or Bloodline. I haven't seen him in so long. I miss his eloquence, his utterly inspiring work ethic, and his mischievous grin. His nod of approval seeing the design of Angelique was like the sun on my face for 100 years. And from that movie, a film relationship with my dear friends at Neo Motion Pictures, Joel Susan, Mike Leahy, and Ron Schmidt. And 20 plus years of back to back projects and many adventures. It's been a blast. So that was his comment on his post about Hellraiser Bloodline. He commented on his own post. You guys probably are going to be listening to this in a couple of weeks. You're going to be seeing an episode of us discussing the Blu-ray for the Hulu Hellraiser. His comment on his own post, he goes on to say, and I wanted so much to like the Hulu Hellraiser, but in my honest opinion, unlikable lead character using blood and not desire to call the Cenobites was bad. The Void character makes no sense. The exposition room they find reeks of lazy writing, and possibly the greatest horror movie bad guys were utterly stripped of any threat when you establish that they can be locked out. Hellraiser is a tricky beast. I've been involved with so many efforts to make it work, but it simply doesn't follow the regular rules of chase and kill horror flicks, which is usually only what the studio wants or understands. So I have to disagree with him on this one. I mean, this might be a little bit of the ego talking here.
Yeah, I mean, he probably wanted to be involved in the next Hellraiser movie. I would assume, right? He made the previous two, or he was involved with them.
I think even in the commentary track from the Hulu Hellraiser that I swear I had here just a moment ago.
Yeah.
Josh Russell, he does mention something at the beginning of a commentary track that he knows that Gary Tunnicliffe probably didn't like this one very much, but
yeah, he said, he said, I don't know why they called us. I bet Gary Tunnicliffe is pissed.
Yeah. but this some of this criticism he says about that, I don't think it makes any sense. He complains that the Cenobites were stripped of any threat when you establish they can be locked out. I mean, geez, look at Hellraiser 1. Pinhead is looming over Kirsty and she's got the box and he's like, no, don't do that. And he can't grab her because it's the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. And Butterball, she took him out because a beam fell on his head.
And then look at Hellraiser 3, where Pinhead is trying to get the box from Joey and he can't. Like, he's locked out of being able to even touch her. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules. It's the rules of the monster. Yeah. So the Cenobites can be locked out. I don't understand why he's like complaining.
Well, and also it's not just desire, right? Because the Cenobites went after Kirsty at the end of Hellraiser, even though they made a deal with her.
Right. Look at Angelique. She gets summoned into like a circle of binding circle, and she's locked out from doing anything unless you stand in Hell's way.
Right. Well, and also Angelique kills a bunch of innocent people. Just to like create more Cenobites or just people that are getting in her way, I guess. The people in that building.
Or the movie he's talking about in his original post, Hellraiser Bloodline. Pinhead gets locked out and destroyed by a moving space station that has a special configuration that takes his powers away. So Voight's cage around the house, if you see it as an arcane technology, it makes sense that they would be blocked by it. I mean, it's not
right.
It's
how
not
is
that
it?
much
How is that any worse or better than the Elysium configuration from Hellraiser Bloodline?
Right. Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So I know he's probably a little bitter about this, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, that bit of criticism. And Voight, that doesn't make any sense. I think Voight makes sense. He's a millionaire art dealer and collector. That wants to see and wants to know, just kind of like Chenard, and he gets more than he bargained for. I mean, if you're going to say that Voight doesn't make any sense, then Chenard doesn't make any sense.
Well, and we liked Judgment, but it's a whole different class of movie, and I don't think that with Clive Barker retaining the rights or getting the rights to Hellraiser back, that he's going to continue on from movies that were made by the Weinsteins for the purpose of just continuing the license, not losing the license to make Hellraiser movies.
Right.
Yeah.
We just mentioned Pete and Gary, but there's so many other pages around here, like This Day in Horror and other pages like that. They were all posting like Hellraiser Bloodline Happy Anniversary. And it really warmed my heart because I love that movie.
Yeah. Did we reshare? Did we repost any? We should have. It's hard, with just the two of us running everything, it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. I'm at work and I'll see something like that when I'm, should be working. And I like think, I'll get to that when I get home. And I don't, I forget, or I don't know. We need more people. It's what it is.
Well, we can't repost everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard, but as long as we bring this up and put it up in our blog and bring it up in our episodes, I think that's a form of spreading the word.
Well, that's true. Yeah. First and foremost, we are a podcast more than a Facebook page or a Discord server or a Reddit, you
Right.
know. Yeah. Our next thing, Cris Velasco, who was the composer for Jericho and has gone on to become a composer for a whole bunch of like AAA top tier video games. He's got a podcast. Well, they're calling it a podcast, but I asked if it was going to be audio and they said no, it's probably just only going to be on YouTube. So I hate to be nitpicky, but a podcast is audio and has an RSS feed, right? That's what the definition of a podcast is. If it's a YouTube show is not a podcast,
Well,
unless it has those things.
well, now you got a lot of podcasts on Spotify that you can actually watch video on Spotify. So a lot
Well,
of
you can
podcasts now.
also watch video of a bunch of our podcasts, but you can
Yeah.
also listen to them in a podcast player because they have an RSS feed.
Right.
So yeah, but anyway, I have didn't watch the whole thing yet, but they have their first episode up right now, which is we've got a link to that in the show notes. It's called Q&A, CUE, like music cues, but they talk about music and the music industry and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Kevin Reeple.
There we go.
Ripple.
Yeah, I don't know him, but I know Cris Velasco, and he was really cool when we interviewed him a few years back, and I just want to try to support anything that he's doing, and I think people should check it out. So I
Sure.
subscribed our channel. I subscribed it to that, and I shared it in our playlist of things to BarkerCast recommends playlist.
You really got it when it's starting because I see that they still just have 11 subscribers and like
Yeah,
2 comments.
one of them was me.
One of them is you. And
Yeah,
this first episode has 30 views as I'm looking at it. So I'm probably your
yeah,
30th viewer.
yeah.
Um,
So I
this,
saw it on a Facebook story, right? And it just went by really fast and I wanted to comment on it. And I guess in those Facebook stories, when you comment, you're really sending a direct message. So I said like, hey, when is this coming out? Is it going to be an audio podcast or video? And he said, I think it'll only be on YouTube.
it's a baby
So, but
podcast,
then
just
then
getting
I
started.
asked him, I'm like, well, hey, the story is gone now. I can't find it anymore because I already watched it and it disappeared. I said, is there something that I can link to? And he gave me the first episode, so that was how I was able to trace
Yeah.
it back.
I think stories only stay up for like 24 hours and then they disappear.
Yeah, well, and they disappear as soon as you watch them too. So
One
yeah,
thing I noticed in their video podcast is that on the coffee table in front of the couch that they're talking, the coasters are little panels of element configuration. Did you notice that?
oh no, that must be
Uh,
it. Yeah, that's awesome.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's not Chris's house though, it's the other guy's house because he had said, "Hey, I think I came up with a title for for the episode on my drive over here."
Yeah. Well, excellent
So
taste on those coasters, man.
yeah, yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so I think we should watch out for that. I hope that they do make it an actual podcast because I think people have more time for audio than they do for video. Right? Because
Mhm.
video, you got to sit down and watch it. Where audio, you can like be doing the dishes, or
Yeah.
laundry or whatever, and
I
and
guess you
you
can
just
always
have more
put your
time.
earbuds and just play the YouTube on your phone and just listen to the audio on your buds. I do that all the time with videos,
I
especially
do,
long form videos.
but when you go have to stop and take a break, and then you have to go back and search it up again to pick up where you left off. So it's
Sure,
not as
sure.
easy as podcasts. Podcasts, you just pause it, and then as soon as you go back to it you can start pick up where you left off.
And we've got a 4K bonanza of Clive Barker stuff coming up, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you just watched the Hulu Hellraiser like 4 times or 3 times yesterday.
Yes. Nightbreed. Arrow is releasing a Nightbreed Ultra HD version on May 25th of 2026. And I've been asking around about it, and one guy said, "Oh, it's just going to be Ultra HD on the theatrical cut, and then HD on the director's cut." And so I thought, really, because that's exactly like what Shout Factory did. Then I went back and looked at their specs, and it's not true. Their specs say that it's going to be Ultra HD on the director's cut too, which I don't know how they're going to do that, right? Because they scanned the footage for the director's cut in 1080p in regular HD. So that means they're going to have to upscale it somehow, or they're going to have to re-download all that footage and re-edit the whole movie.
Well, I'm sure they'll explain something when that comes out. But in their product features, you said, yep, there's got 4K restorations of both the theatrical cut and the director's cut in 4K presentation, Dolby Vision, HDR10 compatible of both cuts. So there's got to be some technical work that they're doing there. And then the original lossless 2.0 stereo audio, optional DTS HDMA 5.1 audio for both cuts, which again, there's parts of the director's cut that I know for sure were just 2.0 audio, right? So they got to be doing some black magic there. Did you notice if there's going to be any sort of extras that are going to be new? Because all this stuff looks the same as we've seen before.
It does look the same. Yeah, they're like, when they talk about an audio commentary with Clive Barker and Mark Miller, it's like, we know exactly where that came from. Yeah. I made a short video on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Facebook about how many copies of Nightbreed that I have, because I was kind of curious to see, and I did it with Hellraiser. So I said, I wonder how many copies of Nightbreed I have. It turns out I have 6, but I'll put a link to that in our show notes.
Because I've got the original DVD, I got the VHS, then I've got the Digipack Director's Cut that came out in 2012.
And then the 10,000 limited director's cut.
Yeah. I have more then. Okay. Yeah. Then I have that one as well, the big box. And then I have the Cabal Cut Blu-ray, which I guess it counts.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I counted it.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Oh, so you didn't get the new 4K Shout Factory one?
I don't think I did. No. I don't know why I missed that. Yeah. You got it there? Show it to me.
It's this one. We talked about it at the time that it came out, but this one, the director's cut is exactly the same. It's in HD. They only made the theatrical version in Ultra HD, which makes sense, right? Because they have the original negative of that.
When did that come out? 2023. So that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I might not have gotten it because I might not have had a 4K Blu-ray player at the time. I think I got my 4K Blu-ray player when I got the Quartet of Torment or something like that.
Oh yeah. I think that's true.
That's probably why I skipped on that one, because I was like, well, I can't play it on my regular Blu-ray player.
Yeah, and you know what though? I watched Nightbreed theatrical cut in 4K at the time that I bought it, and I couldn't see the difference between that and HD. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes you can really tell, and sometimes you can't.
Now I feel like I should get that just for completist's sake, even though I'm not. I don't consider myself a completist. Like,
well, then you'd have to get the Arrow one too, and plus there's all these like foreign releases of Nightbreed too.
And this Arrow one, I think it's coming out first for the UK, right? And then usually they bring it out on the American market as well.
That's probably what it is, yeah. And I bet you the May 25th is the UK release, and we don't really know when the American one will come out.
Although the 4K Blu-rays usually are region free as well, right?
Well, that's true, right? So maybe they won't make a US version because they don't have to. I don't know, but they did with the Scarlet box.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And the Quartet of Torment. I think those are. Oh no, the Scarlet box is the 4K one.
Right? Shipping and customs sometimes that gets in the way, and it's easier for someone to be able to buy it in the US. So they might end up releasing that in the US too after the UK release.
Yeah, there probably will be a lot less difference between the two,
And that's coming out when, like on the end of May?
Yeah, May 25th.
Okay, cool. So
in
a couple of months.
Yeah, so then I have to decide if I really want to buy copy number 7 of Nightbreed.
Yeah, we need to look into that those features. I was looking at some of the features, and I'm not sure that they don't have anything new, because there is something here. Does the 4K version have the walking the line between heaven and hell, an interview with critic Kat Ellinger? I don't remember this being Is that in the 4K version that you have? Audio commentary by critics Adrian J. Smith and David Flint. This might be new stuff. Oh, there is new stuff. There also says here, Monsters, Maniacs, and Midian, The Making of Nightbreed, a brand new feature-length documentary incorporating never-before-seen interviews and behind-the-scenes footage shot on location at Pinewood Studios for an electronic press kit in 1989. I wonder if they got this from Stephen Jones.
Yeah, you're right. That all looks different from what they have on this one.
Yeah, so there's new stuff. Check out the link for Arrow Films. You'll see what they have.
All right.
Speaking up for the monsters, an interview with critic Kim Newman. Huh.
Yeah. So I think they got me then. I might have to buy that.
Yeah, and extensive image galleries, including early sketches, set photos, poster and pre-production art, stills from the UK launch party at Tower Records, and more, as well as the original screenplay. It's going to be in there. So, there is new stuff. I knew when I was looking through this, I saw that interview with critic Kat Ellinger, and I was like, I don't think this is in the stuff that came out. So,
yeah. One last piece of news, and this came from Screen Rant. So, I saw it when I woke up first thing this morning, and I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out as soon as I wake up, because whatever, it's Screen Rant. So, but then I looked at it, and basically somebody from Screen Rant ran up to Brian Fuller, who made the Hannibal TV series, and said, hey, what projects have you got coming up? And he said he was working on a TV series with Clive Barker. So that's kind of the whole story. I mean, there's a lot of fluff in there explaining Brian Fuller's career and Clive Barker, what he's done in his life and all that. But, for us fans, really, that was the only real news was the title of the article. And so don't know if it's ever going to happen. We don't know when it's going to release or what it's about. Or is this the same one that he was working on with Mick Garris? Probably not. He puts a lot of irons in the fire, and it seems like a lot of things end up just not working out because of Hollywood politics. I don't know.
Well, that's cool to know that they're working on something. It says collaborating with Clive on a new television series that's very exciting and a dream come true from my childhood. It's just a matter of time to bring these projects to life. Yeah. So, wow. I wonder what that's going to be. This is definitely a guy who knows how to make a successful TV show. So
I know it's successful, but have you actually watched Hannibal?
I have not. I know
I haven't either.
There's a lot of people who in my friend list who do and like it. I like the guy who plays Hannibal. So it went on for a while and always had good reviews. So I'm thinking it's a good show.
Hannibal crossing the Alps on the elephants.
Yes, that Hannibal, right. And then he camps in the Alps and he eats someone alive. So Hannibal the cannibal.
Yeah.
What did you call it? A lot of pokers in the fire, a lot of irons in the fire.
Irons in the fire, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and so you just kind of hope that. Man, I really wanted this Mick Garris one to work out too. What was it called? It was something London, I forget. I hope that finds a home, because the original people that were going to back it sort of backed out. So I like TV your Fallout hat. On Saturdays, I play a tabletop role-playing game of Fallout now. And so I'm learning about Fallout that way because I never really got to play any of the games. Like the 1 and 2 and 3, those ones were only on Windows machines, and I had an Amiga and then I had a Mac. And so I was not able to play those. I watched my friends playing them sometimes.
But after the third one came out, it has almost nothing to do with the first and second one. So it's a completely different mechanic, and the lore changed a lot.
That's what I meant. I watched my friends play 1 and 2, not 3. And then 3 is a Bethesda game. It's not anything like those turn-based ones.
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of everything in your head. And also, it's disappointing when stuff gets announced and then it just falls apart. I mean, obviously more so for Mick Garris and Clive Barker, for sure, but it's disappointing for us fans too. And, we have to run a podcast and keep focusing on the things that are, the new news.
Yeah. I mean, in regards to all those irons in the fire, someone needs to come and take them out of the fire and start hammering them and make them in a cool, badass sword. That's my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I thought irons in the fire was about like an iron that you would press clothes with.
Oh, I thought we were talking about irons in the fire, like in a blacksmith kind of thing.
You
Like
know
they're
what?
just
Now that you say that, that could be true, and I maybe I've been misunderstanding that stupid phrase for my whole life.
okay. Well, I'm not a native English speaker, so I'll
Yeah.
defer to whoever wants to
Well,
correct
yeah,
me on that.
because you hear something like that when you're a kid and you just think of it that way your whole life, and then all of a sudden you came
Sure.
at it with a different perspective, and it's like that's probably more where it came from because because you put some iron in the fire and it has potential to be made into something.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we created during our Kickstarter a stretch goal. We said we were going to discuss Clive Barker's character portraits, and you guys voted for a Clive Barker self portrait. We're going to be talking to Don Bertram, and we're going to be discussing that wonderful portrait.
So here is our chat with Don Bertram where we discussed this Clive Barker self-portrait from 2007. The idea, and this was Jose's idea, was that we would take a character portrait and discuss it, and analyze it. And so that's kind of where we're at. Our first one, based on the votes that people made, is the Clive Barker self-portrait, and you can see we've edited it in the video here. Jose, do you want to get us started? This is
Oh, sure.
new
I
to
would
me.
just like to introduce our guest for this episode, who's Don
Yeah,
Bertram, of
yeah.
course.
Sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Don,
Glad to be here.
joining us again, Don Bertram from Celebrate Imagination, of course. You can buy awesome art and books and donate to the Texas Children's Cancer Center at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you for
Great
being with
idea.
us.
Great idea.
We did vote. We did put a few images to vote for our listeners. The other ones that we put up to a vote, was Leroy Gom, who was a character
Yeah.
from Nightbreed, of course. And then the other one was a Santa, a kind of a demonic Santa that Clive did. I picked that one because when we were talking about this, it was around December that we made the choice. And I thought that would have been an interesting image to put in there, as it seems to do the rounds every December in the Clive Barker groups. But yes,
Yeah.
this excellent self-portrait was the image that was voted. And this is, of course, Clive Barker's self-portrait from 2007, oil on canvas. It's a big canvas. It's about 60 inch by 48 inch. And it's oil on canvas. It was exhibited at the Burt Green Gallery around 2007. And it was sold for $8,000. I think it's a beautiful character portrait for us to get started on our feature. And I guess I'd love for us to talk a little bit about it and see how this painting makes us feel. Clive doesn't have a lot of self-portraits, although he does have a couple of 2 or 3 other self-portraits that I know. One of them, of course, it's that ink drawing. It's just him with his head in his knees, and he's putting his head
Yeah.
in between his arms and looking up above from his arms. That's one of the
Yeah.
earlier self-portraits. And
That
then
might be the only other one, right? As far as
he has another one from 1995, which is a more symbolic self-portrait. It's the one that's just kind of a black silhouette with like the background are these yellow strokes. And then there's like a little creature stuck inside that silhouette head, a white creature with just one eye, Cyclops. I think you might.
Okay.
Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I do, big time. Love it.
Yeah.
That's if I had to think of Clive doing a self-portrait, that would be the self-portrait I would think Clive would do.
Which is almost like a little critter inside his head. And then there's one really early one, which is Clive Barker's spiritual self-portrait, which was from, I believe that this picture might be from the early 70s or late 70s.
Oh.
It's also an ink drawing, and it's called Clive Barker's spiritual self-portrait. It's just a young man looking straight at the camera. I think this is a really beautiful portrait, and I would love to get your guys' take on how do you see this portrait, how it makes you feel, what's your kind of analysis of it, and about the style, and what would you like to discuss about this painting?
Well, you want to go first, Ryan?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I guess first and right off the bat, it's in kind of an Abarat style, right? This is clearly done during the time that he was doing Abarat. It looks similar to the portrait of Candy Quakenbush, in the way that it's looking straight on and the proportions and everything.
What about
And
the
also
eyes?
it's and it also seems like there's kind of a difference in in the attitude of himself, in the painting between this one and the earlier one was it 1991, the one where he's sitting with his head behind his knees. I know it was in Illustrator, but I'm not sure when it was actually originally sketched.
1988.
88. Okay. So it seems like a difference in his attitude, right? I mean, he was tentative and shy in that first one, and here he's looking straight at you with the flames behind him to kind of say like, "Hey, this is what I did, and you can like it or not. It's too bad because this is it." Whereas that first one with his head behind his knees feels a little more timid, like, "Don't look at me." If Clive Barker were a character in Aberrat, this would be it.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. What about you, Don?
Well, I don't like everything. And when we talk about, and I don't like to be negative at all, but when I look at Clive Barker's self-portraits, this would probably be my least favorite. But
Mhm.
I love the more cerebral images. To me, this is more of an illustrated image. And when we talk about self-portraits, lots and lots of artists do self-portraits. In fact, probably pretty much all of them that of any renown have
Mm-hmm.
done a self-portrait at some time or the other. I mean, all the biggies. You can hardly name Picasso, the egomaniac, did billions of them. Rembrandt, we go back to the biggies, even in the early days, did truckloads. Frida Kahlo, if we want to talk about her, she did a bunch of them.
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh, oh yes, yes, yes. And look at him. I mean, that's somebody who really wasn't, his head wasn't exactly in the right place all the time. And still, he realized the need he had to do self-portraits.
Mm-hmm.
And those are amazing self-portraits too.
Right.
But when I think about Clive, when I see this image, it really, and to put it back in, you kind of put it in context, when we talk about self-portraits done by artists, I mean, they're not usually 4 by 5 feet in size. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
massive. I was
yeah,
at that Burt Green show. I did not see this there, and I probably wouldn't have paid a lot of attention to it. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm full of
mm-hmm.
opinions, but had I seen it, the size of it, that's why I had mentioned earlier to Ryan, if we could actually be standing in front of this, seeing the texture, the size, the colors, you know, size means a lot in museums and art
Yeah,
shows. I mean, if you want to be noticed, make something big. If you want to make someone have to work to see it and crawl right on it with good glasses on it, that's your privilege, and there's definitely a reason to do that. This piece here to me, it's very illustrative. So when we talked about the Aberrat, you mentioned the Aberrat, exactly. This would have been. I know this is going to be a crazy suggestion, but I'm not 100% sure because of the size of this monster. And he did a lot of biggies then, but a lot of lessers. I'm not 100% sure this started out to be a self-portrait. And I would
yeah,
love, and
yeah,
I know this is good. This is crazy.
yeah.
I'm coming from out in left field, but
Well, is that
I,
the orchard fire behind him?
well, when I first saw that, I thought of the arsonist
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's the first
yeah,
time we saw these colors that he uses a lot. In fact, that brush that I have has one of these, that red is clogged all in it. That's why I got to take it because it was unusable anymore.
yeah,
But those colors are used a lot in that activity behind them. Again, you had mentioned it kind of looks like Candy Quackenbush. And the main thing that drew me to that were those almond eyes. I
yeah.
mean, this is, I, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I love, why don't we Clive on here? You can tell us about it. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this wasn't going to be another character in
Hmm.
the Aberrat. It's the same size of paintings that he used for all
Yeah.
the other characters. And then something happened where it started to look like him and he changed paths in the middle of
That is a very interesting hypothesis. I think in regards to
Yeah.
the scale, 60 by 48, it's also a canvas that we need to stand back and meet the image at the bodily scale, right? We have to engage with it almost physically rather than casually. It
Oh,
demands
yes.
time and attention. Do you think that it creates the size of it that creates like a sense of confrontation, intimacy, or authority that a smaller image wouldn't?
And of course we don't know Clive. We
Mhm.
really don't. We know of him through his works and all, but the handful of times I've been around him, I have never got the impression that he would ever have a want to do a 5 foot self-portrait of himself. So you see the block I'm up against on this
Yeah.
particular piece,
Yeah.
It's
and
true.
uh,
Yeah.
I see another character in the work
Yeah.
in that piece that might have been in an Aberrat.
Hmm. The major fire was the orchard fire, and there's a painting of Christopher Carrion in front of, or is it his father, right in front of the orchard fire?
Oh
I'm trying
goodness,
to
this is
remember now.
your territory. I love the books, but I don't remember all the specs.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying to
And
remember
I
too.
remember the images, but not the specs.
I,
Yeah.
I think you bring up an interesting idea there, but I don't know. I think that he was trying to. I think this might have actually been a self portrait because when you look at it, and we were talking about all the other artists that have made self portraits in the past, including Van Gogh and stuff. And I think that sometimes a self portrait can be almost like a therapeutical ritual of sorts, right? That maps the internal feelings of the artist onto almost like a symbolic representation of who they want to present themselves to the world as. And it's true that he doesn't usually do self portraits. At least the other ones that were titled self portraits were smaller in scale, much smaller. One of them is we're talking just an ink drawing on a piece of paper. I think that it's a pretty expressionistic representation. I think that the composition that he chose for it is pretty symmetrical. It's not like a 3/4 Candy Quackenbush or anything like that. It's like he's looking at us. It's almost like a iconic Byzantine composition in terms of what he's got going on. Although the style is expressionistic, but I like the idea that he's got these typically like bold brushstrokes, and he always does the circling of the features in a very thick way in comparison with the flames that seem to they kind of contour his face, right? I mean, this turbulent like fire behind him, it's more like an aura rather than a setting. And
Because
even
it circles around his head.
yeah, it does that a little bit. And his gaze, however, he's stuck in this aura of flames, but his gaze is calm. He's direct and calm in posture, and it kind of makes it almost like a contrast between the turbulent fire around him or the fire that he's inhabiting at the moment, and also the calm that he transmits. And also the fact that he's got the black t-shirt. It kind of helps do a triangular like composition with his face being cut off from the rest of the flames. And the broad strokes make his face almost look like a mask that is representative of who he is or who he wants to present himself as. It's almost like he's saying that it's not him in front of flames, it's him with the flames. I read it as a psychological space rather than a spatial space.
Can I throw another fly in the ointment
Sure.
here? I'm real good at this. You talk about a self-portrait. If it was named self-portrait, okay? But I think there's sometimes a difference between a portrait and a self-portrait. Okay,
Certainly.
granted, the artist did this portrait. I would tend to refer to it more as a, just a portrait because I'm just seeing, like I said, I'm seeing another character.
So you
I'm
think the
seeing,
style and the connection to the Aberrat style that we're used to kind of makes it seem more like this is just another character,
well,
another
that's that.
Clive Barker that's not the actual Clive Barker?
Well, I'm not 100% sure that Clive was not going to end up somewhere in the book. I'd love to know, but obviously that's not happening
Oh,
anytime soon.
that would be very meta if he
Now
wrote
this
Yeah.
himself into the book.
now this,
Yeah.
this piece has not shown up anywhere. So when I look at it and I go,
On the
well, no,
25th hour.
where would we use this? And I'm thinking of it would probably be used as a dust jacket on
Hmm.
something else, or an inset into a limited edition book. Like, do you remember the one that was in Galilee? Do you
Galilee.
do you
Oh yeah.
remember the picture they used for the cover of that limited
Right.
edition book?
It was
It
very
was that.
stylized. He was wearing a tuxedo with like a white.
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no, not
No, that
not the
was
trade
Everville.
edition.
oh, okay.
No, this is the would be the limited edition of Galilee, where they inset what appeared to be a an abstract almost head of, almost looked like Frank, a stripped
Hmm.
Frank from
This
the
one?
yes, there you go. See the picture of that?
Oh yeah.
That's where I would see this picture showing up.
Hmm.
You
Oh.
know,
Interesting.
something like that. And again, I know I'm nitpicking, but and when I look at the background you were referring to as the flames, and I only mention that because of the um, seeing that same style in the arsonist. Well, only I'm looking at that more as just a good background for the picture,
Hmm.
I
and
swear I thought there was a straight on picture of Candy that looked like this one. Because I know you talked about three-quarters view, which is
It's like looking to the
that's
side,
what's in
isn't it?
Aberrat 1, but I'm looking at Aberrat 3 because I think
Ah.
it more focused on the two different colored eyes and the fact that, the
Oh, you're
princess was
talking about
in.
the princess, right? Not Candy.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Candy Quackenbush image that it
Hmm.
was that in the
Yeah.
front of that far
But
into the.
here's another kind of a similar straight on portrait
Mhm.
in Aberrat 3. And this was
Very
around the time that he
typical.
was working on Aberrat 3. It came out in 2011, but he was making paintings for it way back.
So
The
that's
strong.
that's
Hmm.
that's kind of where I was with that. And they also, he had both those earrings. They wearing two hoop earrings on this in this
Yeah.
particular painting.
That's exactly what he looked like in 2007. I saw him at the Mr. Begone book signing at that time.
It would have been two. That's right, 2007. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think if I start looking at this and start trying to take it at face value as a self-portrait of Clive and look at the fire that's around him, I guess we have a few ideas of what the fire could mean. It could mean things like risk or danger. It could mean transformation or purification, right? Or it could mean desire. So if we decide to go with the idea that this might be almost like a character like representation of Clive, I think there's a parallel that we could do in some of Clive Barker's lead characters. The transformation that they go usually is they get transformed by coming too close to a fire of sorts, like either too much power, a powerful entity, or a different dimension, or
There's another kind of similar.
I
oh
was
yeah,
thinking of that one.
I
Yeah.
see, I see. Yeah, so usually there's a recurring theme that affects the characters, right? That the self, that the character, ourselves, were forged, not erased by the proximity to either power or high stakes transformative
Mm-hmm.
events that his characters go through, and then that threshold is crossed with calm and clarity, and the character is looking at us in a clear way and calm, and then that transformation begins with the ability of remaining intact while the world is on fire around you sometimes, which is what happens to
Yeah.
people like in Weave World, for example, with the main character in that book, for example, when he's at the center of this very powerful loom in the Weave World, he goes to the center of that world, into the maelstrom, and he comes back transformed but intact, still the same person. So we
Yeah.
could even think that this is like either also a representation of Clive's intensity. Like maybe this painting could be about what it means to live with that intensity, either an emotional
Yeah.
intensity, a creative intensity,
I,
and
I
remain
think
intact.
I think kind of bouncing off of that, because this recurring theme in all of his books about the Imaginer that reshapes the world around them, right? And I think that fire could represent that, is because these waves of creativity, right? Or the fire is kind of burning down, the world as it exists, and so that he can reshape it the way he wants.
Yeah,
That's a good
absolutely.
point.
And for example, he usually works in acrylics, right? Acrylics or oils. This particular one is in oils. And as we know, oil is a medium that can, that's almost infinitely revisable, right? It takes a long time to dry. It's layered. So much like the self that we create, it's something that we create in layers, and it can be reworked and create a surface that has some depth, like many of Clive's paintings, where he uses the palette knife to work the impasto and make a topology of sorts. So we see that these brush strokes of fire are almost like rhythmic around the figure.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I want to see that as kind of like a representation of some sort of intensity around the subject who is the artist. So that's my take on it. It's almost like he's looking at us and saying, like, I see it, because he's looking straight at us and he's calm. I feel it, the fire around him, and I remain because he's still intact. He's not being destroyed by the fire.
And I think Don made a really good point that it would be nice to be able to see this in person, because this is from the Revelations website, and it was probably scanned like 15 years ago. And so if we could see, a scan like the quality of the Imaginer books of this painting, that would be incredible. I mean, not as good as seeing it in person, but pretty close. What we're looking at right now is a pretty old, low resolution scan of this painting.
Has anybody seen it in person?
No, I haven't.
No.
Has it, did it sell? I'm not sure. I didn't even see it at the show, so maybe it sold even before they put it on display.
Yeah, according to Phil and Sarah's website, it was sold for $8,000.
I thought those were just asking prices on there.
Well, it does say original sale price 8,000. Yeah,
see, that's the original asking price in the galleries.
True,
but wouldn't they say asking price though? If it was a sale price, kind of implies that it's sold.
Well, they're all listed as that. I believe all of those are listed as sale price.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I was just curious, I would almost think he'd do it for someone else.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it wouldn't even put it up for sale, even though a lot of people would probably love to have it,
One of the interesting things that you can find in the page that shows this portrait in Revelations is that they have a link to the other paintings that were present at that Burt Green Gallery showing. It was called New Paintings and Works on Paper, and it was like beginning of November until the 27th of December of 2007. So he does have when you look at the other images, some of them are aberrat.
There's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. He had some other paintings there as well. Some of them are in Imaginer. Some of them were just ink drawings, Untitled. One of the major paintings that was there, I don't know if you guys remember just by name, but one of them is She Waits, which was a cover for an anthology, I believe. It's the one where there's a side profile of a woman in blue, and her head has kind of a spiraling kind of tentacle coming out the back, and her fingers are also kind of spiraling.
Oh, okay.
I believe that this was a cover of something.
Yeah.
And these were the other paintings that were shown at that showing. So
okay.
I was actually referring to this one here. I think it was Voices of the Damned or something.
Oh,
yeah. Did that have something to do with Barbie Wilde or something, or not?
Yeah, it's Barbie Wilde's book, and isn't that a painting of that's an Aberrat painting, isn't it?
I think so. It says Aberrat 3, and then
I think
and Imaginer 5.
Is that Mater Motley or?
I thought that still was. I thought it was her.
Yeah, and then
I think
we had these beautiful black and white pieces as well.
I love those. Love them.
Yeah. And here's a little element that was also shown in Aberrat, I believe.
Oh,
yeah. Don't you have that?
I have an original
or the drawing
sketch, preliminary sketch before he actually did this color one. So it's just one made with like an oil pencil or something. It's just a kind of a sketchy thing. Yeah, that's actually in my collection. It's actually upstairs in my bedroom right now. Otherwise, I should have brought it down. It's funny that you can click here and then it shows you all the
Oh
other.
yeah.
Those eyes immediately sent me to Candy Quackenbush.
Yeah.
Immediately. And look at those brows. I mean, they're
Uh-huh.
so stylized, that
Yeah.
image. And notice how he throws in those flicks of purple or lavender.
Mm-hmm.
He
In the
didn't do
fire,
that.
yeah.
Cheeks.
No, in the background.
Oh, in the background.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it ties into some of the skin tones, but I don't think he did that in The Arsonist. But the
Yeah.
those are complementary colors, and he definitely knows where he can throw those things. Really, what
Hmm.
a talent! What a talent!
Certainly.
Yeah.
And then he also has his face made with violets and yellows and oranges here, of course, which it gives
It
it
pulls it all
a
together.
wonderful effect. Yeah, it pulls it all together.
Well,
Absolutely.
pulls it together.
it's almost like it's reflection of the fire too.
Yeah, a little bit. And
That's true.
I just
True.
noticed
Yeah.
the T-shirt does seem to have like these little
Red
almost
spots, yeah.
red spots,
There's
almost like
not
sparks from the fire. Or I'm not sure what this was supposed to be, but it's a very
Yeah.
interesting effect.
Well, look at that. There's nothing more striking than to throw in clumps, even if they don't mean anything, even if it's
Hmm.
just for aesthetic reasons. I mean, just to throw in clumps of a brilliant red.
Hmm.
I really get off to that. And I didn't look at this close enough to see that not only has he circled the neckline, he's speckled that entire shirt with
Yeah.
with those reds. And I'm not sure it's the ones that are behind in the background. That appears to be orange. And I don't know if that's just smearing those yellows and red together, but he seems to have used a pure red on the actual shirt.
Yes, I think I think you're right. I think that looks more red than orange.
Yes.
Definitely.
And look at his eyes. I mean, a big mistake sometimes we make is not to put a highlight on a pupil. If
And he does
you
that.
your the
Oh yeah.
eyes, those eyes can stay dead looking if you don't put some kind of a little reflection or
Hmm.
something in them. Somebody told me that a while back, and I realized it's true. And look at the people that
Huh.
want to bring character and life to their portraits. They do put a little flick of white. Now he's put double dots. You see, he's actually got
Yeah.
double dots
Absolutely.
on his.
And looking at his
Yeah.
brow, it almost like he's got this one slightly raised, a hint of a little raised brow here.
Like
Yeah.
he knows something you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like when he's going to finish the Apparat 5.
Very, very
Yeah.
subtle. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
What a wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful
Thank you, Jose. I needed that.
Yeah.
self-portrait. Yeah.
Yeah. This was fun to do. We'll have to set up voting for the next one.
Well,
Definitely.
thank you. I'm glad that you invited me to it. I always love to talk about art, and that's my comfort zone, even though I don't always agree with everybody and everything, but we all have our own
Oh yeah.
opinions. And that's what's so
Of
exciting
course.
about it. That's what's great about art. We love it.
That's right. And I appreciate the input that you made me look at it in a way that I hadn't thought about it before, because yeah, it does look like it's very figurative for one of Clive Barker's self-portraits. It's kind of a little off what we're used to when we talk
Yeah.
about or see the other titled self-portraits that I mentioned at the beginning. They're very, very symbolic. I mean, the one with just
Yeah.
the silhouette and the little cyclops inside the head.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
it's I used to have that.
That's putting a metaphor in the image that I
Yeah.
mean that I just get off to.
Absolutely.
So I'm
Absolutely.
glad you remembered that one.
Here's the first self-portrait that I was talking
Yeah.
about.
Love it.
It says here 1988, made available through the Betz Cutler Gallery in
Yeah.
1993. And like you said, this one, you saw it first in Illustrator. I think there was a T-shirt with this at some point. Like
Wow,
really early.
$1,800. I guess because of the age.
Well,
Wow.
no. It was because of the time. That's the first show. They didn't know really. They didn't know what to charge. You know,
Oh.
Bess Cutler was the first, I think, the first people to actually give him that chance over
Mhm.
Oh,
here.
okay.
And then after that, they had to make decisions on how to proceed from there with various
Yeah.
things. But no, it's not really the size so much because that's a simple, this when you talk about ink on paper,
Yeah.
there it is. Love it. I'd love to have that.
And strangely enough, the background on this also is yellows and oranges. So
Oh, yeah.
interesting coincidence that this also self-titled
Yeah.
self-portrait features a symbolic representation of himself against this field of yellows and oranges.
Right. With this sort of otherworldly influence inside of him that helps him with his ideas.
And you can imagine how brilliant that blue would be. See, it's
Oh, yeah.
muted here, but those big blotches of blue in there against a black velvet, that would be really beautiful to look at.
That is cool.
I wish we had better images of some of these older paintings, which probably, I don't know if they're even still in their collection or if they've gone on to live in different people's collections. So I used to have
most of all these images that you pull up from Best Cutler, I kept track of most of that stuff as it sold. And that was really my heyday. I really was into that kind of thing back then. And I would watch each subsequent catalog I would get from them and see what was disappearing from them. I just would love to have had that one there.
Oh, no, I know. This one, I printed it out when I was in school, and I put this on the cover of one of my notebooks just because I liked it so much.
That image?
Yes. This
wow.
This self-portrait. I had that when I still, laminated the covers of my notebooks in school, and this was one of the ones that I put because I was really very much in love with Clive's art and his books, and I still am. All these years later.
That piece there, you don't have to know anything about Clive to read big time into that.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
absolutely.
anybody that tries to interpret art at all can look at that, no matter who it's supposed to be of. You don't need to know it's a self-portrait of Clive Barker to kind of see where they're going with it. I love the piece.
Yeah. It's like there's a little monster inside our head, and we feel like that sometimes. And it's very relatable. It's great to have you as an artist yourself. It's great to have your insight, and we thank you very much for your continued support and being such an excellent, insightful commentator whenever you come on our episodes.
Oh, well, thank you, Jose, and you too, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to see you again. Okay,
hey, that was a really good chat.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm looking forward to doing more of these, and Dawn's already given us. I said Gavin. I can't believe I did that. So Don's already given us a new idea for another one that we could do, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, so for sure.
Looking forward to doing more of those. At this time, I'd like to thank our Patreon backers. Without you guys, it would be a lot more difficult to get this stuff done. You really help pay the bills and everything. So thank you to David Anderson, Eric Vanderholt, Daniel Elvin, Amanda Stewart, Bradley Gartz, Marcus, Matthew Batten, Bennett, Jesse, Timothy Raymakers, and special thanks to our sponsors, Ed Martinez's YouTube channel, Don Bertram Celebrate Imagination, and the Now Playing Podcast. Coming next, we will have, very next episode, because we've already recorded it, right? Like you mentioned, Hellraiser 2022, the Ultra HD Blu-ray release by Turbine. We go over it in detail because not everybody was aware of it or thought to import it, because you have to import it from Germany. But if you really want to add that to your disc collection of Hellraiser movies, I think you should get it. It's a recommend from me, as the people on the Now Playing podcast would say. More news and interviews, the Book Club of Blood. Then our next story is going to be Human Remains, which is, I believe, is the very last story on volume 3, I think. And Clive's Contemporaries is going to be 1986. So which 1986 movie will we pick? Will you pick, right? Which will you vote for to go up against Rawhead Rex? Probably it's likely that it'll be a better movie than Rawhead Rex, just like Silver Bullet was a better movie than Transmutations.
Yeah.
So,
and that Mick Garris show that we were talking about with Clive, I think it was called Theater of Blood. That's what
Theater
they mentioned in 2021, I think. Yeah. We are mentioned in Revelations. We're mentioned. The Clive Barker Podcast episode 300 says, Clive said, I'm going to be flying over to make 10 shows in England next year. I'm excited. It's the first time I've been in Britain to make anything with British actors. And it's really hardcore horror. And then I think he mentions that it was going to be Clive Barker's Theater of Blood with Mick Garris. 10 new stories written in the tradition of the Books of Blood. So that's what they were talking about in 2021.
Oh.
So it's been 5
Okay.
years. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that if it ever happens, I hope. I know that every year that it goes by, it's the chances are probably less, but still not zero.
Keep the faith.
Yeah. Well, and this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed or followed our podcast. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that's not affiliated with Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. You can chat with us on our Facebook BarkerCast listeners group, our Facebook page, Reddit, Blue Sky, or our Discord server. Have you already bought our book? The BarkerCast Interviews Occupy Midian, available in Amazon hardcover, Kindle, and Apple Books. Join our Patreon and become a patron to get access to exclusive stuff, pick an episode topic, or maybe join in the discussion. You can also buy a t-shirt in our TeePublic store. Just go to teepublic.com/stores/BarkerCast. Leave a voicemail for us on the SpeakPipe link on our blog and we might put it in the episode. Opening and ending music generously provided by Ray Norrish.
Thanks for listening.